My name is Alondra Rodriguez, and I am in Knowing and Learning for the fall 2018. This is my clinical interview number 1. So the purpose of this interview is to compare the thought process of an expert and a novice.
Okay.
So today I'm going to be asking you a series of 5 questions. You're going to answer them to the best of your ability. There's no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
These are science-based questions.
Okay.
So I'm going to be providing you with some paper and a pencil,
Okay.
just so that you can either draw an image or just to help you answer the question.
Okay.
So we're going to be starting off with question number 1. And question number 1 is, what is the function of a nucleus?
Okay, the function of a nucleus is pretty much to store genetic material made of nucleic acids, and pretty much it's strands of DNA that define who we are pretty much in regards to our genes, how tall we are, how short we are, whether curly hair, straight hair, colored eyes, or no colored eyes. So pretty much just our genetic information, which comes from both parents, mom and dad, 23 chromosomes from mother and 23 chromosomes from dad, and together they make up the genetic or the chromosomes, and the replication help to define our genetic material. It also aids in health and through the cell division process. So,
Okay, so with that being said, could you give me an analogy or an everyday example of a nucleus?
an everyday example, I would consider maybe like the White House or a city hall in a city, and pretty much it being the lead as to what happens, and having all that information, and just being able to lead that city or country, and just I see that as being the center or the lead of a cell.
Okay, so we're going to be moving on to question number 2.
Okay.
And question number 2 is, what is DNA?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and pretty much DNA is just genetic material or genetic code, and pretty much it defines who we are through having those chromosomes of mom and dad, and also being able to make those strands of DNA through the binding of other amino acids and stuff like that. So that is what the DNA consists of.
Okay. Awesome. So we're going to move on to question number 3.
Okay.
And question number 3 is, what is the purpose of a cellular membrane?
The purpose of a cellular membrane, cell membrane. Okay, the cell membrane actually has several. The main purpose of it is to pretty much hold or contain organelles and cytoplasm of a cell, and pretty much to through the use or through the aid of the cytoskeleton be able to hold its shape, and pretty much be able to do what it's supposed to be doing. But that cell membrane is very, very important because it is selective permeable, so it's very selective as to who it chooses or what it chooses to go in and out of that cell membrane. The cell membrane is pretty much porous, porous or permeable, as we say, and it allows for material to go in and out. It can be molecules, it can be gas. If it's gas, it's through the passive transport, which doesn't need help or energy to be able to move that gas in and out of that cell membrane. Or it can be the active transport, which through the help of proteins on that surface of the cell membrane, to be able to bring in or out those molecules, which can be glucose or any other molecules which need to be transported in or out of the cell. So the cell membrane plays a vital role in the cell.
Okay, going back to the analogy, could you give me an analogy for the cellular membrane?
An analogy for the cell membrane. If you take the cell, I will compare it to maybe the United States and a neighboring country. I'm going to use Mexico and the United States for this instance. And if you take your cell membrane and you have a neighboring country, right, our cell membrane is pretty much our cell wall that divides the United States from Mexico or the river, right? And the cell membrane has what we the organelles that are the vesicles, and I can make that analogy as to maybe like the international bridges or ports of entry, which can be like Los Tomates International Bridge or the Brownsville, Mexico International Bridge. And well, what is the purpose of those international bridges? It's pretty much just to guard or select who goes in and out of our country. So I see that as an analogy for the cell membrane.
Okay, awesome. So we'll be moving on to question number 4 now.
Okay.
So what is a mitochondria?
A mitochondria is pretty much the powerhouse of the cell, and during cellular respiration, there's 3 major steps that occur for the breakdown of glucose, and those steps are the glycolysis, the Krebs cycle, and the active transport chain. So 2 of the steps that take place inside the mitochondria are the Krebs cycle and the active transport chain, and those cycles or that process is just for the breaking down of glucose to be able to provide that energy for our daily function or the cell's function.
Okay, so could you add on organelles? Like let's say in a cell, could you add on more organelles, more than, because you have the mitochondria, so could you add on some organelles?
Sure. We talked about the cell membrane. We have the vesicles that are on the cell membrane. I'm going from the out inwards. Okay, so we have the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, the cytoskeleton. We talked about the mitochondria. We also have vacuoles. We have the nucleus. We have the nucleolus. We have what else? Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop. Ribosomes. I'll go ahead and stop there.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to question number 5, and that is, what is photosynthesis?
Photosynthesis is the process that occurs in plants through the use of light and energy. It gives an output of glucose. Okay, and photosynthesis uses carbon dioxide and light energy to be able to make that production of glucose, or what we call the photosynthesis process.
Okay, so to expand that question, would you say it's important to our environment?
Absolutely. I think it's actually very vital for our environment, in a sense that we expel carbon dioxide, and that is what the plants need to be able to process or go through the photosynthetic process to be able to output oxygen, which is vital for us and any other living organisms that survive on oxygen. So I think it's vital.
Okay, well, that concludes our interview.
All right.
I want to thank you for being able to be here with me today.
Okay.
So,
You're welcome.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.